Yes. Thank you for starting the recording, Cyrus. So welcome everyone. I will start to share my screen. Hopefully that works out. Yes. So welcome to this session of the FAIR Digital Object Fabric Interest Group of the RDA. So just before we really start with the meeting, just a few housekeeping rules. I think you're all familiar with these, but anyway, I'll just run through them. So we are going to be recording today the main session, but not any of the group breakouts if we end up using those. Please keep your camera switched off and your microphone muted here in the main room unless you are presenting or have a question and are invited to open up and talk. We have a session notes document today. I just put the link in the chat. I'll put it again now. So please sign in there. And also please do help us to keep notes of what we talked about today and to capture the discussions and the content. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to use the chat in Zoom to add things there, or you can also chat or make comments or any other things there, of course. Do raise your hand in Zoom if you want to say something, and we'll invite you to unmute. And just finally, but certainly not least, do remember to be respectful of the others in the meeting. We are following the RDA rules of conduct and the guiding principles at all times. So today, a brief agenda. So I want to again say welcome to everyone who's joined us today, and especially to those who may not have participated in any of our group's activities or previous plenary sessions. It's really great to have you on board today. So as usual, we'll start with a few slides just introducing the group, what we're doing, talk a little bit about the terms of FAIR Digital Objects and what we call the fabric, just to make sure everyone's on the same playing field here. Then we'll talk a little bit about ongoing training and outreach activities that are related to FAIR Digital Objects and the fabric and how to use those. And then we'll really start what we hope to be an interactive discussion with you guys to find out what your questions are, what your concerns are that relates to FAIR Digital Objects, how they can be implemented in terms of technology, infrastructures, etc., that are required for that, how they can be effectively used for research and by researchers, but of course also how to curate and maintain and administrate them in a sustainable and reproducible way. And we have more about that later, but we were thinking to have a group discussions there, but we'll see how many people join. Maybe we'll just keep doing the discussion in the main room. Then, of course, we want to try to summarize what we arrived at today, and then there's a point for all other business. I have one point, but if anyone else who wants to raise any other topic for this is welcome to do so towards the end of the meeting. So unless there are any immediate concerns, I'll just continue on, I think. So about us, the interest group, well, we've actually been around for quite a long time because the interest group started under a different name. It was called the Data Fabric until I think 3 or 4 years ago when we decided to modernize ourselves a bit and just change the name to the FAIR Digital Object Fabric. We are currently 4 co-chairs of the group. So there's me, Maggie Hellström, and then there's Laurie Chen, who is also on the call today. And then we have Rainer Stotsky and Zachary Trout, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today. On paper, we have over 260 members. were, of course, people who at some point in time indicated that they are interested in what we're doing and who are members of our mailing list and follow along. We have a web page on this new RDA website, which is still a little bit under construction, but there is a discussion forum. You can check things out, look for documents, of course, see who the other members are and these things. And we hope to slowly but surely be able to rebuild the wiki pages that we had on the old RDA website and add more and more new information there. Important is that we do try to have regular meetings in the interest group. We aim at having monthly meetings, and currently those are scheduled for every fourth Thursday of the month. And we always meet at 1500 UTC, regardless of whether there is any time zone changes or daylight savings and these things. I see Miguel asked in the chat whether the slides are available to download, and yes, they are. They are linked from the collaborative notes document. Quite close to the top of that document, you should be able to find a link to the slides. If that doesn't work for you, please comment in the chat and we'll try to fix that. So those monthly meetings that we have, we kind of mix between the working meetings like the one we are having today, and we also have what we call project shares, where we invite someone who has practically been using or trying to use fair digital objects in their activities at their home institutes or in their projects, and they talk about their experiences, and then we discuss that. So current topics that we have been covering in the last year or so, we have been looking at different technical developments. We have talked a lot about how to facilitate training and outreach about fair digital objects, not only into the RDA communities, but also globally out in general. And we have started, but this is still a work in progress, to set up a use case collection, which we hope is going to be a good resource for people who are interested in figuring out what FDOs are and if they can use them. So we do have a charter as well. Here's a link to that. Just also to state that we really see the interest group as a coordination and mostly communication platform. So anyone who is from the RDA or from other communities can join us and join this discussion and listening into the exchange of experiences around the implementation and application of FDOs. If they're interested in creating, co-creating, and of course using any kind of training and outreach materials. And we also try to act as a bridge and connect to other groups and organizations in the world that are focusing on fair digital objects, such as the so-called FDO Forum. Just a few words about what fair digital objects are. Well, you know, digital objects, those are objects that are existing digitally and can be typically reached through the internet in some way, but of course they could also be digital objects that are only stored in a local environment. And important to note here is, of course, also that physical objects or concept and abstract objects can also be made digital in some way by creating a digital representation of them. And also those can be made fair. So FAIR, of course, stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, and refers to a set of guiding principles that have been put forward almost 10 years ago now, I think. And they talk about these digital assets. For them to become fair, they should be assigned a persistent identifier. They should be provided or associated with really rich metadata, including things like, for instance, usage restriction, licensing, of course, information about the content or what is inside of these objects. and where to find them and things like that. And then people have been going forward. Yeah, thanks, Jean, Laurie, for adding the links to the slides in the chat. So people have been struggling to sort of come up with a good general image that you could use to describe a fair digital object. And the one that I've included on the slide here is the so-called onion picture, which you can debate on whether it is useful or not. But it sort of hints at the fact that inside you have the core, which is a bit sequence. That is the content of your digital object. And that is encapsulated in a layer of metadata, so all kinds of metadata about the object. And then you can think that you can have a set of operations that could be applied to your object. And they can be as simple things as reading the object or visualizing it, but it could also, of course, be using it in a workflow, performing calculations on the contents if it's a data set of some kind, and things like that. And the outer layer is really the persistent identifier of the object, because that's the connection point. By resolving the identifier, you can get access not only to, of course, the digital object itself, but to metadata about it. And especially important when you go from a general fair digital object, which is a digital object that is fulfilling or most of the FAIR principles, it's taking it to something that is called or referenced to as an FDO, which of course stands for fair digital object, but it's a special type of digital object, you could say, that really takes the specification of what needs to be included in this metadata that is immediately accessible at the time of resolving the persistent identifier to a specific level. So there are really some really basic things that need to be present there to be immediately accessible. And of course, not just to humans, but especially to machine-driven processes. And for that to work, of course, both the content of this so-called kernel metadata needs to be standardized so that you know that these things that you need are going to be there, but also the sort of the format of those and the way that they are presented, typically as key value pairs, that has to be standardized so that the machine process knows where that what it gets back is what it expects to get back, and it can act on the content in that. So that's what an FDO is. It's a really machine actionability streamlined fair digital object. And to be able to use and work with FDOs, and you need something that is called the fabric. And that's a weird word, because fabric in this context actually comes from the English word that is referring to like cloth or some kind of material that you have woven that sticks together. So it's not, in many languages, fabric or the word similar to that means a manufacturing plant, but that's not really what this is referring to. It's really referring to this ecosystem of service components and approaches and procedures that you need to work with the FDOs. And it's important that these service components both provide really basic functionality, like to create, maintain, and use the FDOs. But it's also very important that those basic, apart from basic things, that there are also that the fabric allows for flexibility and adaptability to needs of specific communities, because of course there is no one size fits all or one type fits all approach in research data management. We all know that this is a very, very diverse area with so many different actors, so many different research disciplines involved. And of course, beyond research, it's also something that can be used in industry or for societal applications as well. And just last but not least here, it's important that this ecosystem of services, of course, there is always a technical development and certain things are replaced by newer versions or new approaches, but there has to overall be a sustainability of the fabric. And there also have to be very clear guidelines and policies for, is it going to cost anything? Can anyone use this? How to use it and how to prevent abuse and to keep a safe information security based environment as well. So just put a couple of things on this slide. It's a very text intensive one. I apologize for that. Just to highlight that there are, of course, a lot of things that have been developed, especially there's been a lot of work on technical aspects and sort of specification work here. But all the other kinds of things that are also coming with sort of introducing what could be a slightly new or a somewhat new way of working with data and metadata here still remain to be discussed and worked on. Importantly, there is, as I think I hinted at earlier, not a single solution here. There are many different approaches which are possible, both in terms of technology and in the sort of philosophy that goes with implementing and designing fair digital objects and the fabric. So we know of, I would say, almost 10 or even more than 10 different approaches that have been proposed. And now we really need to, in the FDO community, to take a lot of look at are they interoperable with each other? Can something be applied maybe only in a narrow context, or can we learn from a specific discipline and then reuse these ideas in other areas? We are building up test beds of services that are then going to provide the fabric. So they will have to be tested, of course, to check out if they can be easily integrated with each other, and especially performance and scalability are going to be very important, of course. Then we have the practical implications and consequences of going over from using just a digital object related research to fair digital objects in day-to-day activities to actually moving on to using these highly specialized and streamlined FDOs. How is that going to affect researchers in their daily practices? How is that going to affect curation and what people are doing at repositories, for instance? That must be explored. Of course, we are going to have to create and continuously work on having recipes for converting legacy data and similar things, existing digital objects into not just fair digital objects, but really FDOs, if that is what is going to be needed for them to be effectively reused. And we should, of course, always keep in mind that while a lot of this is very technology focused, the information about what the fair digital objects are and what they can be used for and how, of course, as such needs to be spread out to all people in research data management, regardless of their profession, so that they can figure out, is this important to me in my work? How can I get involved? Do I need to get involved in this, etc.? So there has to be a lot of guidance on their use and curation. So a little bit tied to this, there has been, of course, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, several, in parallel with the technical work, there have been initiatives to try to bring out this topic to a wider audience, especially the Fair Digital Object Forum. They created materials, they have organized webinars, they've organized training days at some conferences and things like that. And this is all very helpful and useful, but it has mainly up to now, as I said, had a very technical focus on really more targeting IT people, highly specialized data scientists, etc. In our interest group, we've taken a sort of complementary approach because we decided to really pick up on how can we create this more introductory materials for newcomers to the FDO field. So we have, for instance, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are starting to work on setting up a collection of use case stories from different individuals, projects, and institutes who have already started engaging with FDOs. And we have hoped, of course, to further develop this in this year. We've also created a bunch of really basic things, like there's a document with elevator pitches. So how do you explain FDOs to someone from a given target audience if you only have, say, maximum of 60 seconds, as if you were stuck in an elevator with them going up or down a high-rise building. So you're welcome to check those out, those materials, and also to contribute to them if you want at any point. But most of these activities, be it training or outreach up to now, has really been designed and proposed by people inside the bubble who are working with this every day or more or less every day. And that doesn't really help, we think, in the interest group, because we want to know what it is that you want to know, because otherwise we cannot efficiently design and create content that will go towards answering those questions and concerns that you may have. So that's why we have this working session today. So it's really about giving you guys in the audience a chance now to help shape the future, in a sense. So we have set up 3 breakout rooms because we wanted to give people who represent or are interested in specific different stakeholder groups a chance to sit down together and work on what their concerns are. So you can see the three audiences here. So we thought it could be interesting to divide people up into, say, data stewards and librarians, i.e. those who work with research data management support and curation, into researchers who are the ones who are going to be not only using data, but of course also producing data. And then into those who are more thinking of themselves or their colleagues as being IT developers and data center staff. So the ones that are going to be implementing systems, developing systems, and also operating these services that are needed to keep the FDO fabric going. So I just have to check what time it is. Sorry. Yes. So we thought of having these rooms open for about 40 minutes and give you the chance to work on 2 different things in each room. The first part being collecting questions and writing down questions and topics of interest. And then once you've done that and you have something to start with, then start thinking about what's the best way to address these questions. Should one produce a text document that people can read up on, or should there be some kind of web site with examples on it? Should we have tutorials? Should there be webinars, workshops, hands-on things, etc.? So really to try to get a picture of not only what needs to be addressed, but how to do that, because then we can set up and try to design and provide adequate information pathways and communication pathways. And then we would meet back in the main room to summarize and have a general discussion. So I see that at the moment we're 16 people in the room, so maybe there's not going to be enough people to fill all of these rooms, but let's give it a try. So here the idea is select the breakout theme or thematic that is closest to your interest, or where, of course, you can always jump back and forth, but I think it's going to be more effective if you choose a group and then sort of stay in that. Each room should select one person, a rapporteur, that can lead the discussion and report back in the main room at the end. And then for each of the groups to work in, we have prepared this collaborative document, and they are all linked from the collaborative notes. I will also put the links into the chat in a second. And the main part of these documents are these tables. So you have these things to fill in. So we have pre-filled out target groups, but you're free to change that and add other target groups if you want to do that. We just sort of pre-filled it out for you. Then putting in the first column the question or topic that should be addressed. So really these questions that you always wanted to ask but maybe didn't dare to. Indicate sort of the level if you think this is a beginner, intermediate, or advanced question or topic. So that's what you work on in the first 20 minutes, is filling out this part. And then you would revisit this in the last 20 minutes of the breakout and really suggest how to address it. And then, of course, add any comments that you would like to provide as well. So links to those documents, as I said, they are provided in the session notes. We will not record the group discussions, so please feel free to be as spontaneous or brainstormy as you want. And myself and Laurie, we will be jumping among the groups throughout to see what is going on and help you if you get stuck or something. So the rooms are actually open already. You should be able to find them in the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom window. And there is a link to breakout rooms. And then you can just join the breakout room that you want to join. And you should be taken to that group, and then you can discuss there. And then, of course, in the group, do have your mic open, share your webcam if you want to, and then so you can have a free and open discussion. And I see that Laurie is adding the links to the different group documents in the chat now, so that you have it there as well. So I think that's all for now, and let's just work in the groups now. So until about 10 minutes past the hour, so 40 minutes from now. And I wish you all good interactive sessions. Okay, so we're all back in the main room, I think. How did it go? So I think I could see from what people were adding in the collaborative notes or in the group notes that you came up with loads of good suggestions and ideas. So I thought let's all hear some brief reports from the groups, starting with group 1, the data stewards and librarians, etc. Who would like to say something? Just go ahead and open your mic and speak. Hello? Anyone from group 1?
I can say something if nobody else wants to.
Please go ahead, Hannah.
I think our discussion was mainly that we don't really know a lot, which slowed it down a little bit. We didn't really had any experts on it with us. And okay, the summary is now, I think, heavily influenced by my own opinions, but I'm just going to go ahead with that. And I think this is also part of the problem, because it's with FDO, it's just another acronym for something, which creates a barrier for people to get involved, because we have in the data management world so many different acronyms and groups, and this makes it hard, because then there will be a webinar that's going to tell you something about FDOs, and you just think, oh no, another thing that I need to know stuff about and that I need to get involved. But that makes it, I think that makes it complicated to communicate it. And yeah. Apart from that, we also had some discussions about like general guidelines for, what kind of PIDs should we have, something about open APIs. I mean, standards are always good to have, but how can that be implemented, since different research disciplines will have different standards that they are already used for more or less good reasons. Some might just be, we've always done it this way, so we continue. Yeah, I don't know, Lassie, do you want to add now, since you figured out that you were muted before?
Thanks. Maybe our roles were a bit different, and I was also like maybe thinking about how to make guidelines for PID policies about FDOs, and so. But I think you summarized it well.
Yeah, so I have to say that I think your caveat there, Hannah, that you were not experts, that was exactly the the kind of group that we wanted to reach today, and I'm so happy that you and your colleagues there in Breakout One, that you were looking at it from your perspective, where you are, and really entering questions and topics based on that and your experiences, and that you are starting out with this now, and you need to learn a lot more about it, and at the same time make a good compromise on how much effort you put into possibly implementing new things or new ideas, etc., in your work, and on the other hand, maybe your researcher communities will insist on you doing things or something. So yeah, we are all starting out on this journey now, I think, and there's a lot of stuff to work out. But I'm really happy you came up with so many good points and etc. Great. So maybe are there any other comments directly from the audience to this? If not, I would invite the rapporteur from the researcher group to maybe say something about summarizing what you came up with.
Hello. So it's me. Basically, from the research side, the main thing I think we come up is we don't know about this. Researchers doesn't know about this. They even sometimes doesn't know about fair data and what is the benefit of fair data. So there is a need of propagating the information to get awareness of importance of fairness and importance of such tools, I would say. So make the information clear. The importance of it. So prove that it will benefit researchers to enter in this area of fair data. It will benefit them because I think at this point they don't see it, so they don't want to invest time in it because they don't see the benefit that they can get from it. And for that, we need, there is a need, I think, of promoting the tools that can help you to do that. But most importantly is who should take care of this? Who should allocate time to this? And this is a question that we think should be gone to the institution that researchers might not have the time to allocate to this. So we will take care of this kind of process when you are talking about any past or future data, because past data is a mess to bring to fairness. And the ongoing data, you need to implement pipeline, you need to implement something to make it fair. And this takes some time also to implement. And at this point, we are missing, and in a way, to take care of that. That's what I think, at least. And the last one was interoperability between the different fields, because an FDO with what I know, for data standards, common data standards, that different fields speak different language. So how do you build up interoperability between different fields? And that's something that is important, I think. And yeah, basically that was it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sylvain, for that.
Welcome.
Yeah, I fully agree that there's a very large gap between what is happening in practice on the factory floor with research and the front-running people who are sort of the theoreticians of the data science and also sometimes I think that, for instance, funders and also let's say academic leadership is also not synchronized with what is needed, what is known, what tools and all of these things. So
No,
yes,
I think we have at this point to, from my point of view, train young people. So make the ID, make the ID clear from the young stage already, that they know the importance about it. That's very important from my point of view. And then try to sell it to the institution to make them understand the importance of it. And that's not come free, that it takes time, it takes money to integrate it.
yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any immediate comments to those ideas from the audience? No, I don't see any raised hands. I see a comment from Yasuhiro in the chat. Would you like to speak? Please just go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was in group 2, and yeah, we discussed how to educations and raising awareness of the fairness, and I remember that also there another educational effort is going on in about the open science. It's a little bit general, but this URL, please try to see this URL. My research group under the Belmont Forum try to make some checklist for the fair data interoperability. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us this link. I will copy it into the session notes at the end to make sure it's available for everyone. Yeah, so obviously there is some kind of limit as to what, say, our interest group and also the people over at the FDO forum can do in terms of setting up educational resources or informational resources here, but we can at least put together this wish list from the different stakeholder groups and really point to the need for more funding, for more support people, etc., at all levels of data management here. Not the least to increase the awareness of open science, open data, and FAIR on one hand, and then all the way to the technical machine operability, machine actionability points of view on the other hand. Okay, let's switch to group 3, the IT people, and what happened in your group. Who wants to say something?
Maggie, I can talk about that. Sam and I think another person could add if I miss anything. So basically, three of us are talking about the implementation point of view. So if I, already implemented FAIR data repository or FAIR software, or about the selected technology to implement fair data or any other object. So how is that different? Implementing fair digital object from those already there. And that's first question. Then all data, metadata goes to lots of changes. Its life cycle. How the digital object, a fair digital object, going to handle that. And on top of that, there are also some governance of fabric compliance, who is taking responsibility for what. Yeah, so that's, I think that's in summary, that's three type of questions we thought about. And Tom and Sam, do you want to add anything?
Well, thank you very much, Ming-Fang. I think we didn't talk so much about the different types of methods to address these questions, but I can see, for instance, you suggested a lot of workshops and webinars, but also very interestingly to set up this kind of exchange forum for people who are really involved, where there is a discussion platform. And that is certainly something that, for instance, this interest group could promote and try to launch and provide a place for such discussions and information exchange. Just switching back to group number 2, I see that you also talked about workshops and webinars, but also again stressing the need to facilitate communication and bringing awareness, etc. So that's of course always a difficult thing. Are you going to do this locally or nationally or regionally or globally or in what way? Because I also think, as was discussed in another session here at the plenary, it can be very important to be able to reach out and speak the local language with people. If you are in a country where maybe English is not so very well spread, then of course in RDA we have chosen English to be the main working language, but it is sometimes, I think, hindering effective communication and also really the spontaneity of exchanging information. So we need to disseminate this at very many levels. Sylvain, did you want to add something there?
No, just I was listening to your comments.
Yeah, good. And then just briefly switching back to the data steward documentation. You also mentioned having guidelines and having reference use cases, etc. And yes, I think we really need to address these things in very many different ways, and also keeping in mind that, for instance, a written document tends to have a much longer lifetime in some sense than even a recorded webinar, because there are so many recordings available, and you really need to have time to sit down and listen carefully, and then browsing through a document could be a more effective way to find quick answers, but it might not really help you to get a deep understanding always from a topic. Then you need to interact directly with the experts and discuss with them and colleagues. Great. So thank you all so much for your contributions to these documents. So we're going to, now the co-chairs of the group we're going to try to summarize the input into a brief report, which we hope will be available to everyone after the summer, certainly before the next plenary comes around in November. We're also going to pick up and continue to discuss exactly the same theme in our next monthly meeting. And that just brings me to the last point of the agenda, which was the all other business. I just wanted to make a little bit of advertisement for our group meetings or our regular meetings, and here I don't know why it doesn't allow me to select this link on the screen, but it's put in the notes from today. There is also this link to this. There's a bit.ly link that goes to this document where we are summarizing all the information about our monthly meetings, so that you should be able to go to this link, this quick link, and just get it. And so the next meeting is actually next week on Thursday, as I said, at 3 o'clock UTC in the afternoon. And here's a link to the Zoom meeting and to a collaborative notes document. And we will be updating this document with the corresponding information for the upcoming meetings throughout the summer, etc. I see a question in the chat from Sam, if it's possible to put the document links. It is linked from the notes from today of the main session is linked from the program on the RDA website. So if you go to the plenary program and scroll down there and find our session, then there is a link to the collaborative notes from there, I believe. But I will investigate with the organizers how we can also make this information available in Whova so that it's conveniently located. So thank you very much for that comment, Sam. Okay, so does anyone else have any concluding remarks? Otherwise, I think we can close the meeting for today.
Excuse me, may
Yes,
I ask
please.
you the link to the slide you are now showing, the meeting schedule slide, is anywhere?
Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to get that. Lori, do you have that link available? And you can put it in the chat. So what I can put there I put now in the chat, that's a link to the actual document, but it's not the fast link, which is this one. And I don't yes, now I know. I have to go like this. That's why it didn't work. So here's a bit.ly link now in the chat, and that's sort of the short, it will not change even if we move the document around. So you can always use that to access this information. We will eventually start putting all of this information also on our webpage on the RDA web, but as I mentioned in the beginning, this is still in a little bit of flux, so it's not so easy to update and modify that at the moment, but that's what we will do, of course, in the long run, to utilize our RDA website resource. Okay. If there are no other questions, then I will close the meeting. Thanking you all for your participation. It was, I think, a very, very constructive and interesting meeting. So have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.